Hello there, Deborah Leanne here with a bit of authentic life and what it means to be a woman leading and loving and living in an authentic way. With authenticity, grace, and power. I say that and I don't always feel it, but I promise if I continue to say it, I promise to myself that I will eventually step more and more into each of those traits. So, authenticity today, what's been coming up for me is a lot around the MEtoo movement and the sisterhood and the solidarity and the sense of knowing. Every time we hear more and more people coming forward, more and more women especially, who have been assaulted, harassed, raped even because of being a woman, just because the men felt like they could get away with it, because our culture has set us up that this is okay. And that for decades, these guys have been getting away with it. And what's happening is by us continuing to open and share what has happened to us and reading everyone's stories, we're opening up and shedding light on a lot of wounding and a lot of secrets and a lot of shame. And for many women, guilt and some type of feeling responsible. That if I hadn't talked to them that way, if I hadn't led them on, if I hadn't worn that outfit, if I hadn't spoken out of turn, if I hadn't whatever, and if I hadn't been too talented, too smart, each of the situations that got us into what we now are sharing as a Me Too instance is nothing for us to be blaming ourselves for. And if anything, if we could flip this Me Too movement to being one where we are cognizant of these are all old stereotypes and old systems that are falling away. No longer will businesses or organizations or our culture even is beginning to recognize that these things are wrong and we don't want to be a part of them anymore, and that we won't. We're taking a stand. And now that it's getting to be more and more common that men are reading how this is not tolerated and what happens when you act out in a way that is disrespectful, devaluing, dishonoring of the opposite sex, what happens? Or sometimes the same sex, actually. So my whole thing is I want to talk about this concept of imperfection and about how we can take these wounds and let them heal. And even if we have scars, even if we have the leftover remnant and shadow of this hurt in our history, that we can use this to actually shine more brightly. We can use that as a stepping stone to get to where we want to go, to step more fully into our truth telling, step more fully into owning that this is who we are, and we are valuable just by being ourselves. And that allows us to shine in a way that very often we weren't able to do before. It's by owning that we have these cracks and broken parts of us that, well, for me, I felt like it was a broken part, and helping them to heal by bringing them out in the open. Sometimes you just have to take a Band-Aid or a wound dressing off and let the air heal it. Let the sunlight heal it. And this is what we've been doing. As each of us comes forward and shares our story and realizes that this is such a common thing around so many of us. It has built bridges and it has built support systems. And it's also taken something that we used to say was shameful and wasn't to be discussed and brought it out into everyday news media and conversations all around the planet. I mean, more and more and more people are talking, thank goodness, just like the Black Lives Matter has brought the race issue into many people's lives that didn't want to look at it before. It's their main purpose. And while I cannot relate to being a person of color, I have a bigger, wider, more generous awareness of what my sisters and brothers that are more brown, what they experience. And thank you to everyone with their brave stories of telling what they've experienced. So to get back to this MEtoo movement, I started thinking about the beautiful wabi-sabi art form that the Japanese have taught many of us around the world. And that is that when you have a pot, a beautiful vase or bowl or pottery piece, and it breaks, there's an honoring of the art of impermanence, the knowing that nothing is meant to last forever. There's an aging of grace there. And when old things get broken and they're repaired, very often they repair them with a gold with gold tinted paint or gold tinted mortar. And what that allows the person to do is to see how beautiful this broken thing now is and how it's honored for having been repaired, and it's even more beautiful and worthwhile and special because it doesn't look like all of the other ones, right? It's new and it's newly decorated in its imperfection. And our culture is not very honoring of imperfection. We tend to view things that are ugly or old or worn out as, oh, we don't want that. We want the newest and best and the shiniest and the prettiest and the biggest house and the best gardens and the best greenest grass and the latest, fashions and the latest, cars, anything and everything. We are wanting to get the things that we say are more pretty because they're newer, shinier, flashier. And this intolerance of imperfection and aging and things that are broken has led us to devalue ourselves in a lot of ways. We don't like to have something that's not pretty about us. We'll go get plastic surgery, or we'll dress differently to cover that flaw up, or we will color our gray, So where I'm at with this is I'm wanting to model and teach and remind you of the beauty in the imperfection and what light can shine through when those cracks are exposed. When we cover things up, they tend not to heal or go away. However, when we let things out into the open, it allows us to be more aware, to grow and change and move into a new relationship with that. So what if MEtoo was an opportunity for us to realize that we're moving into a new way of honoring ourselves, of speaking our truth, of not standing down, but truly standing up for ourselves and our sisters and our brothers and our organizations and our teams and our companies and our communities. We're going to stand together on making sure that everyone is treated correctly, with respect, that everyone is heard, that everyone has a seat at the table. And there's no space for treating people less than anymore. And we're the ones that need to lead that charge. Because the more that we feel less than in any way, we're going to continue to be treated that way because we train others how to treat us. So here's my challenge. We're heading into the holiday season, and many of us will be thrown back into situations where we'll be with family, with friends we haven't seen in a while, and the stress will bring forward a different level of treatment and with each other. And I wish we didn't have so much stress, and I wish we could get to a place where the holidays were just that. They're holy days and they're happy, jolly days where there's less it having to look a certain way and houses had to be cleaned and decorated a certain way. But that's another whole topic. So to get back into this place of how can we start noticing how we're showing up? How can we step forward and notice when we make comments, when someone else makes a comment, to just say, I wonder if we could reframe that, or would you be willing to look at that by saying that we are modeling for our young children today, the boys and girls that are here, that this is the way we view how to treat someone of the opposite sex. I'm just curious if we could start stepping more fully into modeling what it looks like to treat everyone with high regard. And that when we get into this sexist thing, or a comment is made that is just less than, it makes us feel like cringe inside, then we know that's something that doesn't sit well. And if it doesn't sit well with us, it may not sit well with other women either. How can we kindly say, even if we don't have to call the person out right there, but pull them aside and say, that when you said that, that just made my whole stomach tighten up. Is that really how you feel? And explore it and let them know that kind of thinking could lead our young people to believe that that's the way we think and that's the way we treat someone. That's the way we treat women. I'm wanting to point out that we have to start paving the way, and it's not going to be comfortable. How do I say this in a way that you guys can hear me? And this is a challenge for me as well. When I'm around my brothers, they say certain things that are sexist. And finally, my sister and I, and even my stepdad, as he's gotten into his 80s, we've gotten to a place where we can talk about these things differently. And sometimes gets to be heated discussion, but at least we don't let it slide, because that's where we've been. We have let these things just happen, and then happen again, and then happen again, and then we are buried under a story of Me Too. That hashtag Me Too, I would love for it to go down in the history books as being a turning point of when women starting to share what their stories are shifted the dynamic, taught the culture, reframed what the media and society, how they view how men and women can work together, live together, and love together. And that there's not this dynamic or power over, or someone's less than, or they don't deserve to be treated a certain way. We have to be the leaders here. We have to model it and show it. It is our responsibility and our legacy. So that was a lot of different concepts thrown into one, but I'm just curious if we could use this as a movement towards walking together arm in arm with all of our sisters, truly showing what it means to stand up and own our power and own our value, and train the rest of the world how to treat us. And on that note, I wish you an amazing next week. I will probably do a short little thing next Wednesday, maybe just a gratitude meditation. And then I've got some news to share with you the following week before taking off for December. So I wish you all the most amazing time as you get together with family and start the holiday season. And I'll talk with you soon. Take excellent care. Bye-bye.